Welcome to Swallowtail Place. My name is Danny Raja and I'm the Talent Learning and Development Manager at Norse Group. Today we're bringing you a special panel for International Women's Day. International Women's Day is a global day that celebrates the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women everywhere. It's also a call to action for accelerating women's equality. International Women's Day has been celebrated for over a century. It first occurred in 1911 and was supported by over 1 million people. This year's theme is Embracing Equity. So here at Norse Group, we are joined by 3 successful women from across the group to talk about their personal achievements and challenges of being a woman in the workplace and a woman in Norse. So welcome, ladies. Today I'm joined by Tandy Zero, who's a manager from Norse Care, and I've got Katie Marrison, who's our Group HR Director, and Amy Duckworth, who's a Project Manager from Norse Consulting. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, and I think it would be good to start by talking a little bit about our backgrounds. So how did we get into the roles that we're in today?
Well, let me start. I've been in HR since 2001 when I left school, and it's been a roller coaster ride, I would say. I started in a commercial environment with a large insurance firm in the Norwich area, then moved into a construction firm and joined Norse in 2006. My reason for joining Norse at the time was it was a local authority. I'd never worked for a local authority and I wanted to work for an organisation that gives back to people. And at the time, Norse was fairly small. And during my time with Norse, it's just grown to such large scales that it's given me so much opportunity to develop and grow in my career. And what's really positive about joining Norse is not just the exposure in my job, but also giving me the professional qualifications and been supported in that journey, and that's just been fantastic for me.
Lovely. So you've been in Norse for quite a while then.
Quite some time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I only joined in April last year, but yeah, I felt really well supported so far as well. What about you, Amy? How did you get into the role you're in?
Yeah, so I've been at Norse Consulting for 7 years now. I started off in the business support team, and I was doing my archaeological degree at the same time. So I was working full-time as well as doing my full-time degree. So for a while I was kind of working with the archaeological department we had at the time, as well as business support. Sadly, that archaeological department closed down, but then there's an opportunity in the project management team that came up as an assistant PM. And so it kind of just seemed like a perfect opportunity really to stay with the company, and obviously build on the skills that I had in the business support team, but kind of be a bit more involved in the projects, which is what I really wanted to do. So yeah, and now I'm a project manager, so I have been in the project management team for about 18 months now. So yeah, really enjoying actually being a bit more involved really with the projects that we've got. So yeah, enjoying it so far.
Thank you, Amy. What about you, Tandy?
Well, I've been in healthcare all my life really, because the moment I finished my O-levels, I then became a student nurse. That was in Zimbabwe, and I've held various posts, but the majority of my work life has been in healthcare. So I joined Norse in 2009 as a care home manager, and I've been on that field since my retirement, end of this January this year. So it's 14 years I've been with Norse Care, and I loved it. This has been my life really. I then, 2 days later of my retirement, I then came back to Norse again as a casual care home manager, just supporting various homes which needs my input. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Lovely. So Tandy and Katie, you said you've sort of been in HR and care since the start of your career really. So what made you choose those careers?
For me, it was like the support from my mother as well. She was a nurse, and until she got married. So really her stories and like the testimony from other people as well, whom she looked after, they would say nice things about her, and that just led me into it, and I've never regretted it at all.
Lovely. Thank you. What about you, Katie?
I was missold the dream, I think.
Okay.
So I did a work experience in doing my A-levels with a company who showed me HR in a very different light, whereby I was working with somebody whose job was to effectively buy gifts for staff on a day-to-day basis and organise parties, and that was what I was sold HR was.
HR's obviously a bit more than that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And it was very much an incentive-driven business, sales. So that was the incentive to motivate staff through sales.
Yeah.
And I was only shown a very small window, and they were making it an exciting journey for me. And that's what I was told HR was for those 2 weeks.
But you've carried on.
I've carried on.
And head of HR, so yeah.
Yes. And ultimately, it's recognising that people are the greatest asset. And being in an organisation that does represent that, and that's what's really important to me, and that's why I've stayed with Norse for so long.
Lovely. What about you, Amy? What made you choose the career you're in now?
I think in a way I kind of just fell into it, really. It's one of those things. I think being in an office environment, especially as a woman, I think business support is quite a kind of typical role I think that women are in. But yeah, when that opportunity came in the project management team, it was just the best opportunity, really. I like being in construction. It's not many women really in construction, but it's there are more women now. It's getting more women in the industry, which is really great to see. But I had a really supportive team in my whole career being part of Norse Consulting, and so it just felt natural to kind of continue, really. And when those opportunities came, it was the best opportunity for me, really. So
I have to say my career was very much by accident as well. So I was working in retail. I started off part-time, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I ended up becoming a manager, and then was petrified of presenting and talking in front of people, and an opportunity came up to do some training. I delivered training to my local area, and I thought, well, I hate presenting to people, so it might be a nice way to get over that fear. Did it, and then absolutely fell in love with it, and then that's how I ended up with a career in learning and development. So I think it's find your strengths and things like that over the time. So lovely. So we've talked a little bit about how Norse is supported. So you've both obviously been with Norse for quite a long time. How have they supported you with your career? You mentioned qualifications, Katie.
Yeah, so I was supported to do a professional qualification at LLM in employment law. And that was a fantastic opportunity. That was 3 years of my life that I undertook that professional qualification at the UEA, and that was phenomenal. There's also the opportunity to develop with other professional qualifications that I need to do in my role, and it's never been a blocker for Norse, and which is fantastic, and it's something that I'm really passionate about to ensure that others have the same opportunity. And just the variation to the role that I do, it's exposed me to such a vast area of HR. It's not just sort of a one niche area. It's given me the opportunity to look at it across the function, which is really great, because a number of large organisations you can get signposted into something, and that isn't there at Norse. You kind of get roll your sleeves up and get into everything, which is what I really enjoy, and one of the things that is so great to work for Norse.
It's such a diverse organisation, isn't it? There's so many different branches to it, like the care, consulting, and then the commercial side, which has lots of different types of roles in as well. Lovely. And obviously, supporting you in your career isn't necessarily just about professional qualifications, is it? It's also about, like you say, that exposure and opportunity to see different things, and to have exposure to different parts of the business and exposure to different experiences to help develop your skill set and go forward. So what about you, Tandy? How have Norse supported you? So you say you're with us for 14 years?
I've been with Norse Care for 14 years.
Yeah.
And initially when I joined Norse Care, it was under the Norfolk County Council. So I came from a private sector to working to a local authority. They were really supportive because the procedures and policies are totally different from a private sector perspective. But they were patient enough for me, and I'm really grateful to all the regional directors whom I reported to for their patience and for their guidance. It did take a while to really know what I was supposed to be doing, but they were there for me. At the same time as well is like your work colleagues, like the deputies I worked with, who have been in the company for years, they were there to support me as well. So it's that willingness as well to learn, and the willingness to talk with your colleagues as well, and to then learn from them. So I am grateful to everybody I worked with, because they were there for me.
I think support network is so important, isn't it? In terms of that, both your colleagues, your peers, but also those mentors, those people above you that can help inspire you. I know my first manager in learning and development, she really inspired me, and that's probably why I'm still in the career now, because she was a real inspiration to me. And I think it's accessing those support networks, how you move forward. So we've talked about, obviously, the way that Norse has supported you while you've come into the career. What about challenges? What sort of personal challenges or professional challenges have you faced over your career?
Do you want me to start? I'll start on that.
Yeah.
For me, the challenge is being a woman and being a woman of color with a different culture was some of the challenges, and being a mother as well, because I've been widowed for the last 20 years. So I had teenagers to look after. So I had to learn to be flexible and resilient in whatever I do. I had to work hard as well for the sake of my children. So how can I say it? I think the best thing is not to give up, but to work hard. And it's not easy as well. I'm saying culture is different, and you also have people who are stereotyped and sort of biased in some areas, be it for us as a care home manager, you deal with the families, you deal with the tenants, you deal with staff as well. But I had to learn quickly. I had to be resilient. I had to find ways and to prepare myself that I'll have these challenges, but not to give in, and to find a way to rise above the situation. So that's how I coped, because I prepared myself that these things will happen, but I've got to find a way of overcoming this in a diplomatic way. So again, with the support of the company and my regional directors, I would pour in some of these problems to them, and they were there for me. So I'm grateful to that.
That's really nice to hear, because it must have been quite a challenge moving over, like you say, different culture, different way of life. That brings its own set of challenges, doesn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you for sharing, Tandy. What about you, Katie?
I think my biggest challenges now are since I've become a mum. So I've been a mum for the last 8 years, and that totally changed my perspective on trying to have the work-life balance. And a lot of it, the pressure you put on is the pressure you put on yourself of being in the mum role and also in the work role, and trying to have a balance of the two. And I think as mums, we put that pressure on, and we're often our worst enemy. So that's probably
perfection, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to show my children that you have to work hard in life. I've been raised that way. I've always worked really hard. My first job was 12 years old, cleaning with my mum. That's how I've been raised, and I don't want my children to think they have an easy run in life, because that isn't the real world. And whilst I want to sort of wrap them in cotton wool for as long as possible, the outside world is a tough place, and it's only going to get tougher. So they have to understand that to get things in life, you have to work hard. And things don't just get given to you. You can't have the TikTok life. That isn't it, reality. So for me, it's about giving them somebody to look to realise that they have to work.
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest challenge. I'm probably my own worst enemy.
Yeah, I'd have to say, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I only became a mother nearly 5 years ago now. But it's that whole juggle between returning to work, looking after dealing with mum guilt, trying to keep all the plates spinning, still have a successful career. It's, like you say, sometimes our own worst enemy is ourselves. And so we have to admit that we can't have it all. I can't have a really spotless house and, spend all that time with my child and also have a successful career. Sometimes one of those plates has got to take a little wobble.
I was just saying the cleanliness. I would imagine my house. It is what it is. My children get turned out clean.
My house definitely looks lived in.
Yes, so, exactly.
What about you, Amy?
Yeah, in a way, following on from that, I think my biggest challenge is myself, in a way, is, that's that feeling that actually, no, you do belong here. And it's that imposter syndrome, isn't it? That actually, am I the right person for this job? And actually you are. And, I've had a really great support in my role. And that's really helped in the last kind of, a year and a half to feel like, no, I am, worthy of being here. And, I can do the job and excel at it, really. But I think, probably myself is my biggest challenge. Really.
Imposter syndrome is an interesting one, isn't it? Because I do sometimes feel that it's more women that have that imposter syndrome feeling. I remember reading some research before about when applying for jobs or new roles, that actually men will apply even if they don't hit all of the criteria, but women are less likely to apply if they don't hit 1 or 2 points of those criteria. And I think that links in with that imposter syndrome really well, because I've certainly felt that. over time is, you know, gosh, someone's going to find me out soon and realise that I shouldn't be in this job. Actually, no, I need to recognise my own skills and, you know, the work that I've done and the success that I've had is actually all my own work. It's not, it's, you know, not given by somebody else. So I am worthy, which can sometimes be quite hard to accept sometimes, can't it? So lovely. So as we mentioned, this year's theme is embracing equity. And equity is all about, you know, fair treatment, access to opportunity and advancement for everybody, whilst also looking to identify and overcome those barriers that, you know, prevent all groups from fully participating. So what sort of challenges do you see for women in the modern workplace? Obviously, things have changed quite a lot.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it. It's about how we ensure those opportunities do hit women. So you talked about jobs, and if we articulate a job, there'll be some women who just think, well, I don't meet all the criteria, so I therefore won't apply. So it's making sure that we don't do those kind of things to ensure that actually everybody feels that they have the opportunity to apply. It's making sure that there are opportunities for women to ensure they have that work-life balance. And I don't think we should limit it to women as well, because men also want the same opportunities, but it's trying to ensure that everybody has the opportunity if they want it.
And that's equity, isn't it? You know, it's not just it's men as well are wanting that work-life balance and time with families. And stuff.
So it's really questioning as we do things, how we set our job descriptions, how we monitor performance. Are we doing that in a way that is fair and equitable to everybody? And I think that's something we all have to sit back and question sometimes. And Tanda, you touched on it yourself, the cultural issues that you've faced. It's making sure that we talk to you and understand that so that we can learn from it ultimately.
Yeah, I quite agree. And some of the challenges as well, not just on culture, but, you know, like in the field, in what you call, in the healthcare, it's mostly, even years ago when I started, it has been really a female-dominated career. And most men didn't look, you know, they sort of look down on it. But I'm so glad that now progressively we are having men who are managers as well in the healthcare. And again, is to sort of enlighten people that this is really a job satisfying career, and there are many opportunities. So it's to change the thinking.
Caring isn't just for women, is it?
It's not just for women. So it's changing that perspective, and culturally as well, especially for me, when I came, as I said, in this country and become a care home manager. I did come as a care home manager straight away. I have to learn the different culture as well and embrace it, so that I'll be able to sort of deliver and support people appropriately. At the same time, it's a vice versa thing as well, that whoever I'm dealing with or working with should also understand my culture. So it's still a long way to go. It's progressive, and all of us have got to work as a team. And we'll get there, and not to give up.
I completely agree. Yeah, still the work to go. I think, you know, if we look back in the workplace, perhaps say 20, 30 years ago, and some of the anecdotes that I've heard from people, you know, we've definitely made huge leaps forward in terms of that workplace and, you know, being women in the workplace. But it's also about, you know, what is there left, you know, that we need to do to reach that equity. Like you say, it's, you know, encouraging more men into perhaps female-dominated industries, but then on the flip side, encouraging women into more male-dominated industries. So it's sort of your area of the business, Amy, so like mechanical engineering, architecture and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even having been there for 7 years, it's amazing the change, really. You know, you see more women coming into those roles that are traditionally more male. You know, construction industry, I think it's only 14% is women still, even most recent figures. And so there's still quite a way to go, but hopefully, women will see those kind of, career opportunities. Like you said, there isn't that barrier there. It's not just for men, or I don't maybe hit all those skill sets, but it's with that training and that support, knowing that you can actually kind of go into that industry. knowing that you're going to excel in it as well, really, which is the main thing, I think.
Definitely. And then I think also if we think about, yes, it's about, encouraging people into those different career pathways, getting more men into perhaps more female, because HR is still a very female dominated sector, isn't it, really? And it's how we change perceptions on what those careers are like, what working in that sector is like, to get more of a balance between people. But then it's also, I think here at Norse, we have a good female representation at a senior leadership level. So we've got, how many is it 3 on the?
3 on the senior management team.
Yeah. So, that's a really lovely, that we see that representation, and it's that inspiration, but it's how we encourage more women into leadership as well. So, I know here at Norse, we've got the Women in Leadership programme, which, is that focus on, bringing women into that role. They can achieve a qualification while focusing on, perhaps the aspects that are specific to us as women and how we drive that forward as well. So, how do you see overcoming some of these barriers then, in terms of getting more people into perhaps male-dominated industries, getting more men into female-dominated industries?
I think it's sharing our stories. I think that's the most important thing, and doing that with the future generation. So we need to make sure that we are exposed to schools and colleges to tell them that they can do whatever they want to do, and if they put their mind to it, they can achieve it. And I think we sometimes undervalue that, because certainly when I was at school, however many years ago it was, your careers were still fairly channeled in certain directions.
I remember doing a survey and being told, these jobs would be good for you. Yeah. There was no actually come and find out more about different things.
Yeah. And young girls need to see that women can go into construction, and that is an opportunity for them. Just like lads, the same, going into a care environment, we need to be able to sell our stories and how positive it is, and satisfaction. Ultimately, you're at work for the majority of your life, and you want to enjoy it. Yeah. And I think that's so fundamental in anything that you do. If you enjoy something, you put more in and you excel more in it. And I think if we can share those stories with people who are really living it, I think that's really important.
We don't live to work, do we? We work to live. And like you say, you spend so much of your time at work, you may as well, you need to find something that you enjoy doing so that you can get value out of that.
And we've got to hit that future generation, and we've got to be realistic with that future generation. There's so many social platforms now that they can get consumed by. But as I said earlier, the reality of life is so different, and it's so hard. Yeah. It's painting that picture, and I think we have to do that from our education stage.
Yeah, I asked my son the other day what he wanted to do, and he said, make YouTube videos. It's fine. There's so much more to life. And you need to stop watching so much YouTube. But anyway, but yeah, like you say, it's that exposure in school, and you touched on it, with the, thinking about how we write job descriptions and that flexibility that we afford people as well. And, I know that's something that I've been really grateful for working at Norse, is that flexibility for family life, and, knowing that I can, work different times to make up the time if something does happen at home, and be supported that way. And like you say, it's not just women that want that, it's men.
And I think it's knowing that you are an inspiration potentially for somebody, not just women. So there is always somebody watching you in the workplace, and you have to realise that you could be having an impact on somebody because they are looking up to you, and the way you behave will have future impact. Like you said, your previous manager did the same. There will be a number of people looking to you, even today, to say, I want to be Danny, I want to be doing this in the future. And I think we have to realise that as individuals, everybody is looking at us in some way.
And there's that role model approach, isn't it? Because actually it can be a negative impact as well as a positive. That I've had managers in the past that are working all hours of the day, answering emails at weekends, answering emails at holidays, and that kind of sets that precedent. Actually, is that expected of me? So it's being that positive role model with that work-life balance, that self-care as well. Lovely. Well, I think we're going to take a little break now, and we'll be back in just a minute. Thank you. Welcome to Shop Talk, a podcast brought to you by the Norse Group, the largest commercial local authority trading company in the UK.
It's people that make our operations work on a day-to-day basis. It's our staff out there working really hard that deliver services for our customers.
I have to echo what Sarah said. I don't see being a woman in Norse any different than being a person. Agency.
So we're trying to recalibrate back to where we'd been, which is making care homes part of a community and really reaching out to a local community.
That doesn't bother me. I said, I can always do that. I'm happy to do it. Oh, it's so nice to see you doing this.
Well, I think before we've been quiet and not asked the question, is it okay if, or could I do this? And I think we don't know.
Podcasts brought to you by the Norse Group. To listen to or download past and future episodes of our show, visit our podcast page on the Norse Group website at www.norsegroup.co.uk. Welcome back to our special panel for International Women's Day. So we've chatted about quite a lot already, haven't we? We've talked about our own roles, the challenges we've faced, and what equity means to us and what we think that means in the modern workplace as well. So I want to touch on something now. So the International Women's Day website has got loads of resources and information on it. One of the reports I was reading was Women in the Workplace. It's a Women in Workplace report for 2022. And it raises lots of different topics about, the state of the gender gaps in the workplace and particular groups of women. And I just wanted to touch on one of the topics it talks about, which is the importance of the manager and having a supportive manager. And actually that having a manager who is interested in your well-being is really important to women. In fact, it's one of the top 3 factors that women consider when either thinking about joining a company or staying in their current position. So why do you think that is? Why do you think well-being is important to us?
For me, I think well-being is very important to any human being, because if I'm not 100% myself, my productive will be so low. I won't function well. And we do all have challenges, be it at work, in the families. And sometimes if we might not be able to share, especially personal things, deep personal things which are going around, in our personal life. However, it's up to the manager or your supervisor to pick up that I'm not myself and she's not performing well. What could it be, rather than just poor performance? And so once you pick those things up, or you talk one-to-one, be it in a supervision, be in a formal chat, people will open up, and then one will be able to support, give the right support to the person. And as a manager as well, for my colleagues and the staff as well, these are the things each day I would just find out, and be observant to see that my staff are well-being is important for them to perform well. And for managers, I would say for us managers, we have like regional meetings with other managers as well, where we are networking and pour out whatever challenges we are going through with the work role. And you'll be amazed. One manager sort of saying, I went through that. This is how I overcame it. And then you share ideas as well. So if we want to get things done or work done properly and effectively, we have to be 100% in whatever we do. So well-being is very important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, that's, like you say, personal well-being, your well-being at home, your health, but actually also your well-being at work and how you're finding work and how that's having an impact on your well-being too. I think when I reflect over the roles that I've done over the years, it's, the roles that I've enjoyed or perhaps stayed in have been where I've felt well supported by my manager. I think that's really, really important. And then on the flip side, those roles that I've wanted to leave or wanted to move on from, the manager has had, quite a large impact on that as well.
I think it's important just to recognise people as individuals. Not everybody's going to work in the same way, and you get the most from your staff by knowing what makes that particular individual tick. And like you said, Tandy, it's noticing when they're not quite themselves and trying to encourage and explore what that is that you can do to support. And as managers, you can't always fix the problem, but it's just having an ear and know that they can come and talk.
Yeah.
Often work can be the sort of safety environment for people, the escape, and that's really important that they have that ability to do that in the workplace. But also the support of the manager understand, that life isn't always plain sailing, and that we're here to help when we need to.
Yeah.
And I think that's really critical.
For employees to understand that you haven't got to leave your problems at the door, that you can talk about your problems and get support for those as well. I think that's probably how I think the workplace has shifted over, the last, couple of decades or so, that actually you can bring yourself as an individual to work and talk about yourself, your problems. But also, again, like you say, we are all individuals. And it's finding out how we work, what our strengths are, and how best to support those as well. So I think here at Norse Group, we've launched a wellbeing policy recently. So towards the end of last year, a new wellbeing policy for employees. And part of that introduces some structures and frameworks that managers can follow to help support their employees with their wellbeing. So, plans that you can put in place to show what good wellbeing looks like, and actually how best to support people when wellbeing isn't where it should be. And part of that, we've also trained our managers on how to have those conversations. And that what this Women in Workplace report highlighted is actually, it's that skill set of that manager in supporting that wellbeing that's really important. And that actually, as managers, we are expected to do a lot more things in recent years, supporting wellbeing, managing performance, managing finances, all of those things. And actually, it's about ensuring that managers, A, have time to have these conversations, and B, have the right skill set to be able to support employees as well. And that's something we thought was really important when we were looking at that wellbeing policy, is how we equip managers to have these conversations, because it doesn't have to be a formal thing, does it? It's not a sit down and tell me about your wellbeing. It's those informal conversations that you have over days to support people.
And it's not for managers to be a counsellor. It's just that they are somebody to listen and signpost in the right direction. And I think that's the sort of misconception sometimes, that managers feel that they have to be the problem solver, and that's not what we're expecting of our managers. It's to be able to guide and advise employees where to go to get that much more comprehensive support that they may or may not need.
And I think that's because our natural urge is to fix.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? As human beings, if someone comes to us with something, we just want to fix what that problem is. But actually, like you say, it's just listening and having someone listen to how you're feeling and what you might need. And like you say, a problem shared is a problem halved, isn't it? And it's just about sometimes just letting off that steam and letting people know.
And having that confidence that you can do that in confidence with your manager, and that trust is there. I think that's just so important, that the manager is there as a trusted advisor, ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned that it's important that as women or as managers in leadership to sort of inform staff that Norse as a company have got the Health Assured group, where staff can just contact directly without even telling the manager, because they are there to support any area which is affecting their well-being. They can just phone directly, and the discussions is in confidence. We don't even know, but they're there to be supported, as well as sometimes occupational health referrals, so where staff can be supported. So as a company, I think Norse have done a great job investing in staff's well-being.
I think that Health Assured, you can access such a huge range of support through that Health Assured. It's, not just counselling, it's, financial well-being. You can get legal advice. There's loads of things you can get through that. I've used it myself and found it really, really helpful. But like you say, it's about investing in people's well-being. And I think the returns will then, you'll see that return in terms of people feeling supported and engaged and happy at work, or at least supported when they're not happy. Because I know that when I think about myself, I can handle it if work is stressful and home is okay, or if home is stressful and work is okay. But when they're both really stressful, that's when I can really struggle, and when I need some extra support, and knowing that I can access that support from my manager is really important to me. What about you? And what do you feel in terms of that well-being?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It is that support, just knowing it's there, isn't it? You might not need it all the time. Then, like I say, sometimes it's all great and everything's kind of as it is, but there are times when you really just feel like, I need that support from someone, and they might not fix it, but they're there and I can talk to them and, kind of hash it out with them, isn't it, really? And I think, like I say, staying in a job or moving to a new job role, that's a huge part of it, is the people that you work with, and then they've got your back and that support there. And, I know for myself, having a supportive line manager is huge. You know, it is half your day, kind of just knowing you've got someone there to kind of to talk to and talk through your problems really is, it's a massive thing for me, definitely.
Yeah, because you can have a fantastic job, but if the environment that you're working in isn't very, helpful, or perhaps even a toxic culture, it can really bring you down, can't it? So that team culture and, how people support and get on with each other is so incredibly important when it comes to, people fulfilling their potential and enjoying and being engaged in their work as well. So, I think sometimes well-being can be seen as a bit fluffy, can't it? And but actually, people perform really well when they feel supported and listened to and like, they've got that support network there if they need it as well. Because you mentioned that as well, didn't you, when you were saying about coming over and having your regional directors and the support that they provided has been really important. Do you think that's played a factor in why you stayed in Norse for so long?
Yeah, that's why I stayed for 14 years and I'm still there.
And you came back.
That's right. And the thing as well, I should also add, is the training which Norse is offering. I mean, I'm sure it's not just Norse Care, but to all its employees on training on the first aid mental health training, which all managers and care staff for us have to undergo, because the idea is to pick early if ever there are any signs of mental health, and you signpost to the appropriate support group for that person, because mental health is a big issue. It does affect all of us, and we need to sort of act in a timely manner and support the person.
I think if we look at it in terms of statistics, mental health is, some of the top 3 reasons that there is long-term absence or absence from work. So, that physical health, yes, it's completely important, but actually that mental health has a real big impact. And supporting that and catching it early before it gets to an issue is incredibly vital. So, and I think we're well supported at Norse with those frameworks in terms of that support to prevent that and support people when they're feeling a little bit down. So yeah, brilliant. So like we say, that well-being is really important, and it's about equipping managers with those skills to be able to do that. And in terms of, I suppose, how we want to finish this special panel, and in terms of what advice we would give, I'd just like to understand from you what sort of advice you would give any women that are either starting out in their careers, so young women starting out thinking about choosing a career or looking to change a career. I suppose here at Norse Group, we're quite in a unique position that actually you could do a huge number of roles and work within the same company. So any women that are looking to change career or simply just looking to progress and get a bit further, what advice would you give for women?
I think for me, it's be yourself. And don't let anybody stand in your way of something you want to achieve. You can be anything you want to be in this day and age, and you are your biggest fan, but also your biggest critic. So just take the bull by the horns and go for what you want.
Yeah, I echo that. I think like saying how I got into my career with L&D was something I was absolutely petrified of doing, signed up for, fell in love with it, and now that's the career I am today. So I think it's that taking on challenges, isn't it? Challenge yourself, go out of your comfort zone, because you don't learn when you're in your comfort zone, do you? So and don't be scared, don't be afraid to let your voice be heard.
Yeah, and go for those opportunities, isn't it? You see an opportunity, and like we said earlier, you doubt yourself, don't you? You think, I'm not going to, I can't do all those things, but actually, yeah, you can. And having that supportive person, your colleagues maybe saying, actually, no, I can see that in you. I know that you can do that. And it's knowing it in yourself as well, isn't it? And actually go, no, I'm going to go for it. You might not always succeed at everything, and it might not be for you. But as you said, there's lots more opportunities out there. You might go into one role for a few years and then see something else, like I did. I was in a role for 5 years, but I didn't stay in that role. I moved into something different that I really enjoy now. So, yeah, you're not... Just because you're in that role doesn't mean you're in it forever. There's lots more opportunities out there, to build on your skills.
Yeah, definitely. Skills could be taught, can't they? It's personality and attitude that we hire for, and actually skills can be taught. And I think, from the discussions we've had, how everybody's been supported in those careers through Norse is, like you say, we will teach those skills, have opportunities. We've got the levy and lots of other training opportunities to be able to support people to develop the skill sets and progress in the way that they
you're not just stuck, you're not now you're in that role, that's it, that's not you forever, you've got a big career ahead of you, so you've got to take it when it's there, really.
Definitely. What about you, Tandy?
For me, is more or less what my other 2 colleagues have just said. is to say, don't underestimate your abilities and capabilities. I would say the sky is the limit. You can do whatever you want. Definitely, just like everybody else, you meet challenges, but somebody even quoted to say challenges are a strength. There are opportunities, so I would just say go for it, and seek support when you feel that there is no support, you are not being supported here. Seek for support either from a different person until you achieve whatever you want to do in life.
Yeah, I think mentors have been really key for me in my career. It's identifying those people that can help push you and have conversations, and just, that aspiration piece is somebody that's where you want to be, and utilising that support. Like you say, just go for it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because actually where I've learned the most in my career is when I have made mistakes. And actually mistakes are okay, as you can hold your hand up. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes, but it's how you learn from them and how you move forward.
Absolutely.
As well. So lovely. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really interesting to chat to you and hear your stories and your advice as well. So thank you. And thank you for joining us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.